did they decide to tell you they were going to bug her?
I don't remember. I want to say that it was probably either that July 24th or August the 2nd, but I'm not sure which one it was.
Okay. What do you think about that?
I was wanting to do anything I could to help. I mean, I wanted to show them I didn't know anything. I had, was no involvement, and I would do what I could do.
Protecting yourself.
Yes.
Staying on that side of the table and not that side of the table, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you did this, and at first you didn't do the recording on the recorder. Why did you decide to tell Melody about that? I
don't know. I just, at the moment, it was like, very early on. I don't remember what day that was, but I had tried to use that recorder. You got to hold it up with your phone and put it this way and that way, and it was awkward. And then when I saw her, I just said, they'd give me a recorder. They want me to record our phone calls.
Okay. I do want to talk about one other thing. Going back to the 9th, right the day before the 10th of July.
Okay.
Okay. And that's when this statement about the burn pile and all that, I believe that's what you said in 2019 actually happened, right? The statement that you say that you changed the time when that happened, you say that happened on the 9th of July? Or when did that happen?
I don't know the date.
Okay.
I just know that I had gone to Martha's house and was talking to her.
This was at Martha's house?
Yes.
That's when it happened?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We're going to talk more about that. But let's go back to these recordings.
Okay.
So then you start recording her on these Callio's, which is this app on your phone. Like you got a phone, you get your phone out, you call her. Do you call her through the app, or how did that work? Tell me how it worked.
Seemed like I had to dial, for me to call her, it seemed like I had to dial a number, and then it went through, you could hear it going through a system or something. And then when it came in, it came in as like a recording, and then you had to answer it, and then it was her.
Okay.
Didn't know which way it was going.
All right.
That's been...
Right. It's been about 5 years. More than
yeah.
that. Between 6 and 5 years, because you did it through 2019. So you did it for almost an entire year.
Well, from the latter, we'll say August.
Sure.
Of 18 till would have been June of 19.
You recorded her.
Well, they did.
Right.
Yeah.
And in all of these phone calls, because they've been provided to us, but in all of these phone calls, did she ever confess to anything?
No, sir.
All right. And in fact, in these phone calls, would she talk about who she thought actually did this?
Yes, sir.
And who are those two people?
Scott and
right.
Chris, her
so
sons.
That's what these phone calls were mostly about, right? A lot of the time.
It was part of the conversation at times, yes. I don't remember how often.
And did she show concern that the state wasn't investigating the people she believed perpetrated this crime?
Yes.
All right, and y'all talked about that a lot. Of course, you also talked about the normal stuff. I love you, all those things. And that's just a very simple, by the way. All that means is everything, all of it. We're going to make it through all of it.
Yes, sir.
Because that started back when you were taking care of Martha Jane and your dad.
That's correct.
And that's when y'all first fell in love.
That's correct.
No top secret meaning to all.
No.
Okay. So in all those phone calls, nothing.
Nothing.
But then you said too, because you know how the whole thing looked. You went, got her. I think you got her a burner phone. That's the word he uses.
Yes.
What do you call those phones?
Straight talk.
Straight talk phone. All right, straight talk phone. Go to Walmart, get a straight talk phone. You gave it to her because you wanted to see if maybe you could get something out of it.
That's correct.
Because at the end of the day, you were dating her, and you didn't want to be with somebody that killed her husband, right?
That's correct.
That's right.
That's right.
So you did this, and in all those interviews, all those times that you were questioning her, did she confess to murder?
Never.
Right. Who did she still maintain did this, in her opinion, best she could tell?
Chris and Scott.
Okay. Because let's talk about, can you remember some of the odd and strange things Chris and Scott were doing throughout 2018 and 2019? Do you remember any of that when y'all were talking on the phone?
She had told me about some instances with both of them.
Could you tell the jury?
One time, I don't remember the circumstances, but Chris came to the house and threatened to beat her unrecognizable and stand over her grave and watch them lower her into the grave.
Okay. That's concerning. Anything else? What about Scott? What were some of the things Scott was doing on the property?
Scott stayed gone a lot. He'd go play golf, and that's what I was told. Scott would go play golf. He'd be gone. He'd come in and, just explode over nothing.
On his mama?
Yes. Yes, on his mama.
Right. So he was showing a lot of anger towards his mama through 2018,
Yes.
2019. Yes. What about the assets, the family assets and the property? What was Scott doing? Can you remember? And it's okay if you can't, but just what you can.
The only thing that I know was, that Scott would come over and get a debit card, credit card, whichever it was from Melody, or sometimes from Gary, just so he could go do something.
So mentioning the credit card. So this credit card that she had from you, that goes back years, right?
Yes.
Tell the jury about that.
It started, I gave it to her, I think initially, back when we first started with Dad and Martha, in case she had to pay for something, because I think, like I said yesterday, she had to handle the septic tank people coming out and digging up the backyard and pumping the septic tank, and because I was at work, and if there was anything that she had to pay for, she would have my credit card. But she never did have to use it even for that, but she had it for that. Plus, like I said, also that Gary had at times cut the credit cards off to her, to all of them, I assumed.
Did that to everybody in the family, right?
Yes, yeah. But that way she would have something to just not be, like be in Tullahoma or be in Nashville and not be able to get something to eat or gas. But again, she never did use it, not a single time in all those years.
Which I'm not saying. I'm not saying you know anything about Georgia law and divorce and who owns what in a marriage. But how about this? When you were married before,
Yes,
I think you were married for 36 years.
yes,
Right? Every dollar that you had, that was also your wife's money too, right?
that's correct.
That's how that works, right?
Hers wasn't mine, but mine was hers.
Right. But that money was also Melody's too. That she could have had access to.
Yes.
That's her money.
Yes.
All right. And she knew that, correct?
Oh, yes.
And she bought for her house. I mean, had you ever been to the Purcell Lane house?
No.
Had you ever seen any pictures of it?
Yes.
So would you say it was beautiful?
Oh, it was Southern living beautiful.
You would say Melody pretty much bought anything she wanted for that house.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And clothing she wanted as well, right?
Yes.
So she didn't want for anything. Old Southern phrase. She didn't want for anything, did she?
That's exactly right. No, she did not.
Okay. So even though maybe Gary would keep up with where she was going sometimes, did you even know anything about that?
I think that if she spent, and I don't remember the exact dollar, but it was either 25 or 35 or something like that, he got a notification.
But she still got to buy anything she wanted.
Yeah. It didn't matter whether it was $35 or $350 or whatever.
Or $3,500.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
Okay.
No.
I want to talk to you too. Did you talk with Melody through all this time about just some basics of, certainly there was some concern here, but we're talking about a lady that, y'all were together. How big is she?
She's little.
She's a little lady.
Yes.
And then her 2 sons, I mean, they're giants. They're big guys.
Yes, they're bigger than me.
All right. So, and I think you've mentioned some concern about that too, their size, when you were around them. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Y'all would talk about the fact that they're so large and she's so small and there's no way she could have done this, right?
Correct.
Just from the sheer basics of this case.
Yes.
You know, I want to talk a little bit. I mean, I've done it because sometimes I get a little heated, and I'm trying to calm back down. Because I don't want words ever getting put in your mouth, Rusty. I want you to be able to talk and tell the story to this jury because you were the one there, and you were the one that lived it. So I want you to explain what was around. So obviously she was in custody at that point, but in June of 2019, we call it recant, but you're not really recanting. You're just trying to better explain what she said to you, right? And when she said it.
But what was said was not changed. It was just when it was said.
Okay, so just to kind of better explain that to the jury, because that's a lot of what this case is coming down to. The district attorney is putting their case on the words that come out of your mouth.
Right.
So I need you to explain those words to that jury right there.
She said those words to me.
Okay.
I heard them. I just, in my confusion and pressure of, I got to do something. You know, they're going to arrest me. They're going to ruin my name. They're going to put me, line me up. It came out because Bobby didn't even know I was going to say that.
Bobby didn't even know?
No.
So that's just what you felt like you had to do to preserve yourself?
Yes.
But then you tried to explain later that, yes, she told you about that, but that was after Gary was already found, right?
Yes.
Okay. She's in custody sometime around the preliminary hearing. I mean, a video or a recording was played yesterday where y'all are talking about a chess game.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, and I believe they're talking about Michael. Y'all are talking about Michael. And it just kind of struck my mind. Us lawyers, we call strategy in cases chess games. So it sounded like you guys were, tell me if I'm wrong, but y'all were already using the language of the strategy of a case. It's like a chess game, yes?
Yes.
That's what that's about.
It was, as you put it, this side of the table and that side of the table. They're playing chess.
Okay. And speaking of lawyers, because there's been a lot of lawyers in this case and a lot of district attorneys and a lot of defense attorneys. Once upon a time, she had Manny Aurora, but Manny Aurora told everybody to stop talking, right?
Yes.
In fact, I think that's pretty good legal advice. I can go get out my card, and on the back of my card it says, what tips on talking to the police? Don't do it, right? Yeah, I didn't give you my card.
I don't have your cards.
But I'll give it to you, and that's what it says. And that's what Melody was trying to do, was to tell you that Manny said everybody's got to stop talking. Yes?
That is correct.
That'd be some pretty good legal advice, wouldn't it?
I think so. Hindsight, yes.
Because here we are, here you are, things that you felt like you just had to say to protect yourself has gotten you in front of that jury right here and her sitting right over there, right?
Yes, sir.
And going to that, in that recording about, if you keep talking, I keep pointing up at that because that's where the sound comes from. But they're recording yesterday of her in jail. And she said, oh, I didn't do this. And you said, oh, I know, honey. But if you keep talking, you're going to hang me. You remember that?
Yes, sir.
You understood that to mean with just talking, it doesn't do any good, does it? Because here we are. Has it done any good?
No, sir.
So on the 24th day of June 2018, that was a lie about when that conversation happened with Melody.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I appreciate you for being honest about that. I appreciate you for coming down here and being on, because you don't want to be here, right?
No, sir.
This has probably been the worst experience of your life, has it not?
Ever.
You're under oath right now, I remind you.
Yes, sir.
And you seem like a kind of guy that takes an oath pretty serious, don't you?
Yes, sir.
And you swore to God to tell the truth to this jury, have you not?
I did.
And right now, you're telling the truth to this jury?
I am.
And you tried to tell the truth to this law enforcement officer sooner than June the 25th of 2029, did you not?
I did.
But you didn't want to poke the bear.
That's what Bobby said.
Your Honor, if I may have 1 minute.